This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.
So the last time that we did a podcast was like 4 years ago. And you said you didn't remember.
Honesty.
Yeah. We talked about all things yoga and good vibes, and you have a construction company called Good Vibes Construction, right?
Yeah, and we have two of those, so people get it confused. But my oldest one is Bianco Nero.
Bianco Nero, okay.
Yeah, so that's like the one we use as our umbrella.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remodeling and all that stuff. But you're the yoga guy in Des Moines. Or what?
I don't know about that.
I mean,
I don't know. As you go through stuff and experience things, so you kind of get labeled that because you're teaching that. So
yeah.
I like to call it movement.
Okay.
Just due to the fact that I don't follow all of the yoga guidelines. You know what
Are you a yogi?
In some ways, but that's just another way of like what you're practicing, right?
Okay.
You know, I think people just throw words around.
So you don't like the label.
I don't like the labels too much, to be honest.
But the movement part, you're more comfortable with that because it's...
The movement part, it's kind of like the whole thing.
Okay.
Right? Because it goes with everything. The movement of the body and the movement of the movement. Right? So I just like that better than... Because once you put yoga with certain things, like in certain demographics, they already have like a judgment on it. So it's tough for them to... look at it as something new, you know what I mean? So when you put a label on it as like movement, people are like, oh, what is this, right? And what I was really trying to get into is getting more diverse yoga classes. So having more people that look like me show up for yoga. Having more people who look like you show up for yoga. You know, and what I've learned is a lot of people already have a stereo mind of what yoga is, so it leads them like kind of not to want to check it out.
Yeah.
So
last time we talked, you said that like men were kind of hesitant to join yoga.
Yeah, because
is that still a thing?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah,
it's a predominantly like done by women. You know, but if you know the history of it, it was a thing that couldn't be practiced by women. Where it originated from, but
right. India.
Yeah.
So you've been doing it for...
Man, it's gone fast. I think 14, going on 14.
14 years. Yeah, I mean, you're kind of like, you do it everywhere.
That's how we started.
Sometimes I'm driving around and you're at a park.
Yeah,
with a group of people or like
and that's how it really all started.
Yeah.
Once we got the studio, then we weren't everywhere.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that I learned from like having a space. To not having a space. When you don't have brick and mortar, it's easier to be everywhere.
Yeah.
People are more inviting to allow you to be everywhere. Once you get brick and mortar, people think you're in competition, even though you're a donation-based everything. But it's funny. It's just kind of it just happens, I guess, naturally with our.
Did that donation base work? Did that model work? Do you think?
Okay, it depends on how you want to look at it. It worked in the fact that we would receive enough donation through our classes to keep the doors open. Nobody made money, right? But the intentions wasn't like that. The business plan wasn't to make money.
Yeah,
so that's what loses everybody. They're like, why would you do that if you're not going to make money, right? That's what gets everybody. And the whole idea was if I could get enough people to do things in the building to offer their service, and people could donate to that, then we could keep the doors open.
Yeah.
Right? Because most people that have a service to offer, they can't afford rent. So it's like if we could all offer a service, people donate towards that, and then you allow the community to see like what that service is too, and they can get behind it too, then at least we can pay rent. Right?
Because people think of business as business is their profit, right? Like,
right. And that's what that's the thing. My whole thing was all my classes I teach at either early or late, so it doesn't affect my daytime job. Right? So it was pretty simple to understand that if I could get in a routine, offer a 6 a.m. class before people are awake, right, and receive enough donations to maybe pay half of that rent with that just hour a day, right, and then maybe couple more teachers who will offer their service throughout the day, and they get another part of the rent, and then another, do a 5:30 class in the afternoon. Work's already done. I still did my full day of work, and now I do this service, hopefully get enough donations to keep the lights on, So that was the whole idea of I could have.
That was the model.
That was the model, and I could have structured it better, right? We could have done all these other things, but that wasn't what I wasn't really going. I wanted it to feel like it was really just created by just normal people, right? Like to where you still show up and it's normal. It's not digital. You don't have to do all of this extra stuff. It feels like you're still in the 80s type thing, homey. Like it's got a vibe, and I wanted something because everybody. If you think of anything, you have to go and heal yourself and get some type of feel good. Anything, you got to pay for it. Everybody's got mental health. Everybody's got all these issues, but you got to pay for it. So it's one of the biggest businesses right now. But what about the people who can't? Right? If you want to go to a yoga studio, you're paying $100 a month. So I was hoping people could catch on to see you can do the same thing with us, but also. As we offer these classes, our community also is giving food away, right? We're also giving clothes away. We're also like creating jobs in the community. Right. So it's bigger, right? It's bigger. It's like, it was a whole.
I was talking to the Fridays that you were doing, poets and musicians and creative youth was coming in into like every other month or something, or every month, once a month on a Friday.
We were doing the open mics.
Right, open mic. So it was like an incubator of local talent, right? Like it was kind of giving kids somewhere to go on a Friday night where they could feel like they were themselves. So, but like as I talk to people, I always ask them like, what do you do to manage stress, or what do you do to overcome tough days? And you've obviously, in the last several months, has been a big change because you lost the brick and mortar. You lost the epicenter of where the movement was going from.
Space.
How are you moving on, or like how emotionally, or like how are you like overcoming these times?
That's a good question. Really, that really is. Really, some things, I like to look at just about everything, like, and I've been in crazy situations, but I try to take the best part of the situation, right? So, initially I wanted to be upset with losing the space, right? That was my initial reaction. Like, man, I want to be mad about it.
Yeah.
But when I look at the past of it, it was like that place was a lot of stress.
Okay. Like so now you're looking in retrospect.
Yeah. So it was great, and everybody sees all of the positives, right? Because there was tons. It was touching a lot of souls. But it was also a heavy weight, So when you go all in on a community, you if you don't keep a balance, you lose balance of your own community within your family, within your kids, within your net of your whole, right? Because you're trying to do so much for all these others, and that's your intention and your end goal. And sometimes you can lose track of like the real importance of like what holds you to be able to even create a community, right? So that's like your foundation. So if your foundation gets rocky, things get rocky. So as we got the space going, it was great, but it was taking on so much, you know. And then what you learn is you open your doors to everybody.
Yeah.
And when you open your doors to everybody, then really what you allow is then people to have a judgment. Right? And if your whole thing is called good vibes, right?
You can't come in with
you can't have bad vibes. You see what I mean?
So was it the pressure of like you always having to be?
Not so the pressure. It's just I think what I learned is a lot of people just want to be involved in something, but not really put any work into it.
Yeah,
you know. And when you continue to work and like people just kind of want to be around.
Yeah.
Just want to be around, just kind of be around because it's a cool thing you got going on.
Yeah.
And after you do it for over a decade, you get to see, right? So what I'm getting at with all of it is losing the building also let me see so much more that I didn't see because all I kept chasing was the dream of having the space on 6th Avenue, right? Like I got it. Like,
yeah.
Like I got the dream, like I had it. But in the process of all of that manifestation, I didn't have it all figured out within myself. Yeah. My foundation wasn't strong within myself, right? So therefore, you can only be as strong as what it is.
I've talked to a lot of people that, you know, that are doing good things in the community, that contribute, that participate, that, you know, some call themselves activists. They are, you know, and some are not. I mean, they call themselves activists, but they're not. But the common denominator that I've seen is that it's a very draining thing to do when you're putting out, you know, a lot of energy or a lot of work towards the betterment of your community. And I don't think I don't think that's talked enough. I don't think there's a lot of conversation around that, around the fact that you do tend to kind of forget about yourself because you're just kind of wanting to push conversations or issues or do things that are better for everyone, and then you kind of neglect yourself a little bit.
Yeah, it happens. It happens real quick, you know. And that's the thing. That's what I mean. Like, so that was a lot of stress. 5 years was great. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was great, but it was a lot of stress too, like dealing with a lot of just stuff, like all the time. I mean, we were right on, you know where we were at.
Yeah.
And our doors were open all the time. And it was just a lot. It was like, it was a lot.
One of the things that I was really impressed about what you guys were doing is that, I mean, I live like a block and a half away from where Good Vibes was. And we did the yoga classes a few times. And the consistency of it was what I was very impressed with. And like as a business owner, or when I embark into projects, like the key to anything is being consistent. So I was always like, these guys are consistent. Like Sundays, you know, giving out free food, the yoga classes, the Fridays, you guys did a bunch of giveaways and give out sweaters and like just endless things that you guys were doing. And I always thought that's very commendable. When you want to get somewhere, if you don't have consistency, you're not getting anywhere.
No. And that's what that was the base of the whole thing. Consistency is discipline. You know? And I mean, that's the whole reason why I like 6 a.m. yoga classes. Like right now, I don't have a space to teach them. So it's been 2 weeks without my routine. Yeah. So I can feel, you know, me getting up. Like it's different. I'm up at like 3:30 a.m. like already texting people like, "Hey, what's up? What do you got going? Like, what's the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just different. And like I said, that is what I use to tell people like, so what does yoga do for you? It's like, well, for the last 13 years, like pretty much that's been my medicine. Every 6 a.m. is you know, my practice of what I need every day of like, you know, some people need their antidepressants, some people need, you know, all their different fixes. Like that's what really keeps me on my schedule.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're like what we get back to of losing the building. We're in the rebuild time.
Right.
And it's like the rebuild time is good because you get it, it's just like fall, right? Leaves are changing.
Yeah.
So you get it's great because you get to get rid of all the dead weight. Right? You get to really see who's down with you right now. You get to see who's like who wants to rebuild with you. The ones who don't, that's great. You restart.
Right.
So it's just like we've been here before. We've been planting seeds forever, you know? We've already seen like seeds develop. We've seen 6th graders graduate. We've seen them ride down the street and say, what up?
Yeah.
We watched them before they could ride the bike.
What do you say to somebody that because like these type of projects, you know, they can, if you're strong in the mind, they can teach you a lot of things, right? Like, and you can learn from it. But some people can like take it too hard, right? What do you tell somebody that has all their heart into a project and somehow it doesn't work? What advice do you give somebody like that?
That's tough. I guess it's just everybody's heart's different, right? Right? Because if you, like, at the end of the day, like everybody can have big hearts, but if you don't have any discipline and you don't want it, it's like, then what, you don't have it anymore. So I don't know. Again, it all is going to go back to like what you really see and what you really want, you know? And most of the time when you have a big heart, you're going to fail a bunch of times, right? Or if that's the word you want to use,
sure,
you're going to have a lot of lessons a lot of times. Because if you're coming from a big heart, most of the things aren't like based on business, right?
Yeah.
So most people are like, 6th Avenue didn't fail. Good Vibes didn't fail on 6th Avenue.
I see.
You know what I mean? We just didn't want to pay double rent.
Right.
Period.
Right.
That was it. Like I'll always stand on like what I stand on as what I believe. Like I'm not negotiating. We're doing something sweet here. You should see what we're doing here, and that's what it should stand on.
Yeah.
And that's how you are part of the helping the community, right? And that's what you'll see. Like the thing is, at the end of the day, everything will turn to business. All right, 6th Avenue will change, just like any other place where big buildings come in.
Yeah.
And we continue to put money into it. It will change, which is fine, right? Everybody wants change. But understand communities change when people change. You can bring in as many nice buildings as you want, all right? And little kids are still going to shoot themselves.
Yeah.
All right? And shoot each other over dumb stuff. It doesn't matter if there's a new mural on the building.
Yeah.
All right? Like these are all things that like help the neighborhood look.
Right.
They're cosmetic.
Right.
We might get a bunch of nice new bus station stops that are glass.
Yeah.
That are $25,000 a piece. Or we could use that $25,000 a piece and put 5 people in rehab. Right? So it's one of those things. It's like everybody's talking about community, but nobody has time for community. Right? And like neighborhoods, usually, like our neighborhood, when I was growing up, that was considered like the hood, right?
Yeah.
Some people still consider it the hood. You know, you might see some prostitution, you might see homelessness.
Yeah.
Which is part of the neighborhood.
Right.
All right.
We live like 3 blocks away, by the way.
it happens, right? I'm on 9th. I'm on 9th. You're on 8th. And we were at 6th. So it's like, it's right at our backyard. And it's like, that doesn't leave because that new building went up right by McDonald's. It's just right there now.
Right.
You see?
Yeah, nothing changed.
There's supposed to be businesses in all those buildings. I see decals on there. I don't see any businesses
functioning. Yeah.
So I'm you know what I mean? It's just, you see it. I'm old enough to already have seen it happen and what they want for it to become, which is cool. But at the end of the day, if you're not helping the people, the same problems will still be here in the community, whether it's new buildings or not, if that makes sense, right?
That makes sense.
So, you know, homelessness is a big deal right now, right? Well, how do you fix it? How do you do it, right? There's all the laws, so we can't fix it, right? But it's like, what happened to neighbors? Right? Like, we'd get in trouble for like, yeah, you can sleep in our backyard. Right? We would.
Yeah.
You know, so what is it? What is it? We're going to give them a ticket knowing that they don't have money to pay for it.
Right.
Right? But we don't want them in our neighborhoods. Right? So where do they go? They're part of the community, but what do we do?
Right.
They can't get in the shelter. Right? Or there's a list where so I mean,
yeah, the shelters look overflooded.
Yeah, right. So it's like, and all I ever hear is people talk about it. No one's like, here's a solution. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't have the solution. I don't know it, but it's like, these are all the things that go on in these neighborhoods that won't change just because we put a new building up.
Yeah.
The thing is people keep putting buildings up and they don't even have a community to go in the buildings. You know what I mean? So we did it backwards. We in our movement, I was all over the city, and we built the community. And then we said, we're going to go get a building and then do it. Right?
I see.
So we lost the building, but the community's still there.
Still there, yeah.
They have new buildings going up, no community. Right? So they're looking for people to lease. Right? We already have all of that. We have all of that.
Yeah.
Right? We already have the community. We don't have the building.
So the movement continues. The movement doesn't.
No, yeah, it's because before all that happens, like, this was just normal life for me.
Yeah.
We were already doing this before, like, it got noticed on, The Matrix. This is just a big deal because people see it on Instagram and Facebook and, but we were already doing it before that. That's why if you look at Instagram and Facebook and stuff right now, I'm not doing anything. We're still working.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think people get so caught up in that part of it, right?
So it's build the community first and then seek and then look. And do you believe that, they're doing it backwards. It's like building buildings and then asking for people to come.
Yeah, because with the building, just understand with the buildings just comes more money.
Yeah.
All right. So that means whoever is just there right now, just know those taxes are going up. Will they continue to be able to exist there in 7 years? Because I think they usually give that 7-year tax break. It's usually a good acceptance.
Do you think that as a society, like, is it inevitable for this type of stuff to happen? Just like...
it's just how it always has worked. You know what I mean? It's just timing now, money-wise. It's timing. So you can't go anywhere else, outside of where the old houses are. It's just, think of Chicago. All the houses that are big Victorian houses, they're out. They took them back. They just did it before us. Now they're $1 million houses. You go in one block and you're back to the hood. Right? I never thought I'd see $300,000, $400,000 houses in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's just me. But they're there. They exist. And they're beautiful. Right? Then you just deal with all the things in that, like, world of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And now we're becoming more of a city. It doesn't matter. No one's worried about that anymore. So that's another thing that happens, because now people are coming from real cities and they're saying, well, this is awesome. You guys really don't have a homeless problem. Because they're coming from big cities where there's shanty towns on the blocks.
Do you think that Des Moines needs to prepare itself for, like, bigger problems then? Like, because the population is growing. I mean, people are moving in.
This is funny. We've been talking about this a lot. And it's, to be honest, so much stuff stems from just economics. Almost everything, right? And then from there, I see it. This is going to get me in trouble, because I think a lot of what our problems are addictions.
Okay.
All right. So I think, like, in order for, like, not saying, because this, me and my sister get into this, but not saying all homeless people have an addiction. But the majority of the people who I've come in contact with when I'm working and out in the world,
right.
The most of the people who are on the street tell me they have an addiction to something.
Yeah.
And so therefore that addiction stops them from maybe being in line to get to this place, right? And so if you don't have a support group and you have an addiction, then you'll stay out there, right? So really, I'm in my head, I'm thinking if there's a way to figure out how to help people with the addictions who are on the street, then it would be a better way of like getting them back into the world of
right.
whatever reality you're in.
Sure.
But in order for that to happen, you have to be with somebody who is addicted to meth or heroin or crack, and you want to help them. That's a 24-hour a day job. All right. So if you go to any of these places, nobody has that. Right. So if you have a family member who has it, and you're trying to, you got to be all in.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And then you're going to also go through that chaos. And what happens is the reason why not the reason, I gotta watch how I say stuff. A lot of the reasons what there is because not like the family will give up. Or somebody will give, or it's too hard, or there's, and then it leads to where we're at. And so there again, we go back to that neighboring. It's hard to even be a neighbor, right?
Yeah.
To do these things, to be like, I have a big backyard. I could house 5 people in my backyard. And
like Des Moines is like a tiny problem compared to like big cities, right? They like
Oregon, California.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere.
It's a massive problem.
Yeah, and but again, that addiction thing. So that is the real work. So what I'm getting at, it's like you can have as much money, as many buildings as you want. If you don't have people who can really work with people with addictions, we'll always have a little bit of chaos.
Yes.
And it's just more because the drugs are ridiculous out here. They're crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a different culture. Like, it's cool to be doing hard drugs. Right? I grew up in an era of like when rappers were rapping, it was like you sell drugs and get girls. These rappers are like, you do the drugs.
You do the drugs.
you know, so it's crazy. But where do we go?
We don't have a compassionate society.
Yeah, well, it's tough when it's a business. There again, like what I've learned through doing this donation-based thing, everybody, even the good, like everybody, it's business. Everything's business. Everything is business. Some people even base their friendships on business. And that just saddens me.
Yeah. So like, you wouldn't do anything different?
No. Well, there's always things you do different, but not really. If the things that do different, it would just be more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just, you got to understand, I wasn't ready. I wasn't thinking that like 6th Avenue was going anywhere. I was planning on being there for a minute.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wasn't planning to be gone. So it's just, again, it's just rebuilding.
Yeah.
I've had, people have reached out and be like, you can come over here, come over there. Though it's not really my neighborhood that I want to be in.
Yeah.
So until something happens like within that area or like, another opportunity, I'm just going to like continue to keep building the stuff that I've been working on and just get it better and just get a stronger foundation, and just keep doing what we've been doing. It's just without a building, less overhead too.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't have donations, I paid for it. You know what I mean? So it got heavy.
Right.
You know, I went in debt in some parts of it because then we tried to do more. We were in the process of like being able to put a little juice bar in there and a coffee setup in there, you know? We had a screen printing press and people were using that in the basement. We had the shoes, you know? So we were trying to have this whole little hub of like the music, you know, the merchandise, the movement, you know, we have the gardens on 16th Street, you know, like a whole little village of everything.
Right.
So it's like none of, you know, all of that still exists. It's just, you know, finding where we're going to put it.
I mean, these type of, some people call them thirst spaces, right? Somebody told me, a friend of mine, Brian Bonanno, I don't know if you remember him. He used to do a lot of murals around town.
Oh, yeah.
He moved, but he named his spot Third Space. And he kind of had the same idea of like, so I guess in society we all have, you know, three places: home, either school or work, or church. I think it's like the second, or in the library is like they fall into the category of the second space, and then there's that third space that people kind of, it's another hub of different things that is not church and it's not home, that is not school or work and it's not home. I think like these type of spaces is what's needed in communities, so people have like a place to go to express themselves or be themselves. But going back to a little bit, not that I want to kind of like hammer it to like the addiction too much problem, but like the state and the city, they have a responsibility to create more resources, more mental health, more recovery, more, so I don't know what to call them, places where people with addictions can go and get out of addiction.
Yeah, they should, right? That should be one of the main things.
That would be one thing that they can do to get rid of.
Yeah, and you know, and see, but
homelessness issue, or
and this is where it's like, yes, but this is also where like we always are relying for a bill to be passed or for we forget like we are the government, right? So what I'm saying is neighbors come together, do something. We don't gotta wait, you know, because let it feel natural. You see what I mean? Okay. This is how I look at, for like example, nonprofits. What nonprofits kill the grassroots movement?
I see.
Everything that comes together organically, then all of a sudden everybody's like, you should turn yourself into a nonprofit. turn what you're doing into a nonprofit. And all that is because you are the grassroots movement. And guess what? The government needs things like that. Right? But once they get in it, now it's all the rules.
Yeah.
Now it's the data. Now it's all the stuff that they need. Right. That really, hey, I'm not worried if you're black, white, whatever. Like, we're here to do good work. I'm not worried about the data. I'm not worried about, was this a girl or a boy or you know, like, and so
they start to run as business again.
It turns into it. Yeah. And then if you understand nonprofits, all they are is a business. Right.
A lot of politics in it too.
And people are just like, it's a nonprofit. People who run nonprofits get paid. Okay? Like, I don't understand the disconnect.
They gotta look at the numbers just like a business does.
Nonprofit and you're like, oh, I'm going to donate. It's like, it's a business. Yes. And the people are still doing work. Right. And so I was cool with not being a nonprofit. I was cool with friends coming together and doing stuff. And that's what I'm getting at. And that's what makes you feel like it's organic. Why aren't people at our community centers? Because they feel like a community center.
I see.
Why didn't I want to call my place a community center? Because when you hear community center, you're going to get some old coffee or something, some old people. Right? That, like, everything's controlled. It's like they'll put these cool things up, but they won't have the people in them to make it feel. Right? We can have all the cool buildings, all the, we gave $1 million so we can have all this virtual whatever, and it will sit there. Yeah. Because most people don't even know it exists. So I don't know, man.
I was talking to somebody about nonprofits yesterday, and we had a nonprofit for almost 9 years, so I've been in the nonprofit world. I know what it takes to get going, and ultimately it does start to feel like a business, because then people start looking at numbers and this and expenses. So that's what a business is run. You look at what's coming in, what's leaving, and what's the leftover, and that's that. The bottom line profit.
And a lot of times people lose the intention of why you even started in the first place. Right? And that's my biggest problem. Once I see things that I don't like, I can start the whole thing. I can be the one to start the whole thing. Once I see something that I don't vibe with, I can walk away from it too. Very easy.
Yeah.
Because if you've built it once, you can build it again. But you got to be able to stand on what you believe in, and that's usually what most people can't do. In my head, I really believe I could raise $5 million and build a building if I wanted to. But I also don't want to be a puppet or a pawn.
Yeah.
All right. So I'd rather have my homies and my friends and find 5 million people to each give me $1 and we all do it together.
Yeah.
But that's hard, right?
Right.
Because people be like, oh, that's Ben's. See what I mean? Like, that's the biggest thing.
Is there there's no winning here?
Yeah. The thing is it takes a long time to really understand it without your ego involved and without people getting. So, yeah, I could drive a Land Rover if I wanted to. But I choose to do something. I chose to do something on 6th Avenue. We had to pay like $30-something thousand of rent a year.
Yeah.
Right? If we weren't getting donations, we were paying it. Utilities still $500 a month.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So it's just like however you want to be living, whatever you want to be doing with it, and then however you see it. But it takes time for you to see like what a community doesn't. It's not based on like how much money you can give. It's like, do you show up? Can you show up? You know, can you help somebody? Can you really look at that person as a human? Can you? Or do you just want to vote and say you did your part and you're going to wait for your party to do it?
Yeah.
And so, you know, most people are just waiting.
Right.
And then they want conversation. Like, that was the biggest thing in our movement was just action. It's like, yep, we're going to feed the community. That was just, then we just keep doing it. Now we just do it out of my house. Right?
Who's the one that loses the most? Like, that Good Vibes closed?
The kids.
Right.
The ones who used it. Not me. I don't lose. The ones who, you know, this is why I'm saying, this is why it wasn't a nonprofit. And this will probably, there would be kids there that would go there and be there all night. Because they didn't want to be at home.
Right.
Now, I'd get in trouble for that. But that's the stuff that what I'm talking about. Without neighbors, without us being able to do these things for the kids, and that is why it's so hard, because you got to go through all of these steps. Now you got to go check them in so this kid can be seen here. This kid can go here. Then we can try to enroll them in this program. Then we can do this. You know, it's like, again, the last 5 years have been chaos. When you put yourself out there to help people, and what I talked about are addictions, and I don't want to throw anyone, but one of my family members was addicted to meth the whole time while I had my space, and they lived in the neighborhood. I dealt with opening up the doors at 6 a.m. and having my family member being addicted to it while class would go on, while everything, while you're supposed to just be normal, like, hey, how you guys doing, right? So when you live it too, and you're in it, that it's coming from a different place than just like having this is a maybe. What I'm saying is, like, people with addiction, they need help, they need love, and you can't just pass it on.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. And then they're going to want to have to help themselves too. Yeah. Right? So it's one of those crazy scenes of like, when you go back to like who loses, it's the kids that are walking 6th Avenue and they call me and they're like, Ben, do you care if we go on the spot at midnight? No, feel free, bro. Because you got to understand, I lived there at one point too.
Yeah.
I lived in my studio too, and then I lived above it. So, between people yelling, Ben, open the door, to whatever, we were, like a little hub.
I think what happens is like kids are gonna go out at night, or kids are gonna be like, they're gonna wander around after school. They're gonna be like, where do we go? And if there's not a spot, then the chances of them finding things to get in trouble are a little bit higher, right?
Yeah, and it was just, hey, the whole time, this is one thing that the whole time we never had one altercation.
No issues.
The whole time we were there. And, open mics open to everybody, and everybody wants to come up there and rap. Everybody's got their own little thing. Everybody's from their own little side of town. That's the world we live in, and not one violent thing happened. So that, just that alone.
Some artists, right? Like they're like, they have aspirations.
Because that, you got to understand, like, what else was happening like that on 6th Avenue? You live there?
Yeah. Nothing.
So right?
Yeah.
And now we have people coming that, like, besides for Tacos La Familia, they're not even trying to come.
Right.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, that was like the bridge. That was also something that I loved, is because, like, since I was already in the burbs, I was already all side of town, then I was bringing these people from down there, out there, down here to see, right?
Yeah.
And then they fall in love with Tacos La Familia, and now they're still, you know what I mean? And that's how it works. Like, just,
it was like this unquantifiable, like, thing the chain of reaction that happens.
And the thing that people don't get is, for those 5 years, is that we got to put a image in those little kids' head that were walking to Molten. They got to see people in there doing something besides sitting on the corner doing nothing. So for that 5-year expand, with all their data and stuff they want to do, they could probably take those kids and do a study with them and see what happens from seeing positivity on their corner when they're going through the bus stop and the crossing guards, opposed of an empty building with nothing in it.
I wonder what's going to be in there now. But you're right. That's very poignant.
Right? So it's the little things.
Yeah, man. Like something else besides somebody laying down, passed out.
And they still might be there. But I'm just saying, at least they get to see that.
Right, they get to see an alternative too, another option to be. So like people that would say, well, what about the parents? Those kids, what about their parents? Why do they need that extra space? So like a lot of people do a superficial finger pointing. Like they'll point out to, like, oh, it's the parents' fault or the kids themselves. They just don't want to listen.
The crazy thing is a lot of parents are there, and the crazy thing is a lot of parents are addicted themselves. And you got to understand the realities of people's worlds are completely different. All right, everybody's living in a different reality. All right, if you've never dealt with it, then you don't know anything about it. You can only get it from the movies. Right. So you think you have an opinion because you saw like some talk show or you read a book about it.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody's realities are completely different of like what addiction is, what it, because the thing is people are dealing with addictions everywhere. I was out in the burbs, man. Those kids were all popping pills.
Yeah.
Still are. You know what I mean? And you would think like that these big addictions, you always think are in the inner city.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the opioid, it's an epidemic.
And it became one when it hit the burbs.
Right.
Yeah.
Because before it used to be called a crack cocaine, just say no to drugs campaign, right? But once it hit the suburbs and it hit
the crazy thing is, what people don't know is soccer moms are addicted. They're dropping their kids off. They're just getting prescriptions from their doctors. Right? The thing that people don't understand with addiction, when you have a roof and you have a stable income, and you have like stuff there, you can be addicted for a while. Nobody even knows.
They don't even know.
Right?
Yeah.
And the majority of human beings on this earth take some form of a pill every day. So stress, we were talking about stress, right? You go through this, you don't have a balance, you start to get stressed out. I've had a hernia for 2 years, right? Nobody knows. Should have had surgery, don't want it. But I had to go to the doctor. I haven't been to the doctor in 24 years.
Okay.
Get there, type my name in. I'm not even registered.
Yeah.
Haven't had a prescription drug in 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people take something every single day, and they will for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Some people give their kids stuff to take.
Yeah.
I have buddies who've been taking Ritalin since they were in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
They're 43 now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
But we don't hear this talk. We don't hear this conversation anywhere.
It's because.
I mean, is it under mental health? Are people talking about it? Because mental health is talked about a little bit, right? Like anxieties and depressions.
What I've learned is like mental health can't be fixed with a pill. Right? It can help. But like mental health is a serious thing that it mostly is, most of us all have stuff that we have never dealt with. So we mask it with something, right? Whether it's herb, whether it's your CBDs, whether it's your THCs, whether it's your mushroom, whether it's your alcohol, whatever it is, it's something, right? And then some people take their antidepressants and take their Adderalls and their Xanax and their stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all a form of a coping mechanism, right? Where some people really need it. That's another thing I've learned. Some people's chemical imbalance is just crazy. I'm not a doctor by any means. All I'm going off of is I was a hyper kid, right? And they've tried to put me on all of these drugs my whole life. And then once I realized, oh man, all I need to really do is exercise all the time, or like, run or do something physical all the time, then I can focus a little more, But yeah, if I was to get diagnosed, I'm ADHD, whatever the letters are, I'm all of them.
You'd be popping pills.
Yeah, and then but what does that really do to you? Does it affect your creative thinking? Does it affect like how you think? Like, what does it really do? So I don't know, right? It does something.
Yeah.
It does something to chemicals in your brain that are, a big deal.
So do you think that we're doomed
No.
as a society? Do you think is there a path for like a society to become more human?
It's so funny because as a realist, you can always make it sound like a doomsday. No, not at all. People just got to stop using the word woke and really wake up. Everybody's woke. They're all sleeping, right? They're all just looking at their devices. Like everybody's just looking at us like pixels, all right? Like that's it. Like that's what we're like. It's a device. Like everything, a device. I went to Target. I had to wait 25 minutes for a human to come check me out, and I'll wait an hour because I refused to use that. I told my first grade teacher, I was like, someday we're gonna go to the store and no one's even gonna be there. We'll just go ding ding ding. Someday we'll look on our phones and we'll just see each other on the other side of the screen, and it's all here. And it's like what I'm getting at is like the whole thing of what we were doing with the Good Vibes movement was building community to keep the existence of humanity, to keep looking people in the eyes, to be able to give just a simple hug to somebody to see how you're doing, right? And the whole time they're like, bro, you should go digital. Just do it digital. And it's like everything's digital, Pretty soon we won't have that, just that human interaction. And you can see it already with when the kids from COVID didn't get to go to school. Like iPad babies. Their communication's completely different. Everything's just a little different. Like even my own kids, I notice. Nothing bad. I'm just saying it's different than in the 80s.
Yeah.
The 90s.
Right.
So the future, when everybody's like, change, it's here.
We're living in the future.
We're living
right now.
We're here. So I don't think it's dooms.
Wild.
It's not dooms. It's like how I like to look at it is like positive and negative.
Uh-huh.
All right. And as long as we keep having narratives around negative stuff, this is all we're projecting. Like people need to start like talking about positive stuff. You doing, talking,
yeah.
it all like it's music. Listen to positive music. You know, like all of that stuff is a vibration that really helps. I know when I turn on some trap stuff, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
When I turn on my Bob, I'm like, all right, bro, chill out. Just chill out. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
You know, because it gets you. It's a vibration. You know.
So what do you advise then? Like for it to be organic, a movement needs to be organic. For it to be welcoming to the weakest of our society and the ones that need it the most.
It's good. I mean, that's a good question.
Because to like even to have access for somebody with an addiction or somebody with some kind of that needs a place to go somewhere, there's nothing out there. There's no access. Like there's no process for somebody to go there. It's really hard for somebody to get a bed somewhere.
Yeah.
It's really hard for somebody to like
and see, that's where I don't even like, I guess this is what I was talking about in reality. I guess when you're right in it and you already know the people who are addicted, it's easier for you to take them in than a complete stranger. Right? So you're already dealing with it. So you might meet one of their friends that need help too. So then he's more of a stranger, you know, if that makes sense. But I don't know where people can go without just, again, that neighbor to guide them or that person, right? So one of my family's members has been through it, and still she can guide them as far as she knows, right? A lot of people don't know all the resources, and there's just not a lot of resources out there for it. Again, we go back to that addiction thing. If you're addicted to something, they're not letting you, right? If there's something, because they just won't allow it, you know, technically. So it's like if you're like high on drugs and stuff, then you can't go there. And that's what I was getting at. A lot of the people who are homeless or usually have some form, not all, but usually have some form of addiction. So it's hard, right? So it's like, that's why I'm saying the neighbor thing, to where like, okay, the shelter won't take them. Can I open my backyard and just let someone stay here? Well, now you're putting your family at this or that. Right. And then that's when all of the laws come into play of like, this could happen. And then, you know what I mean? It's all of the what ifs.
Yeah.
So with the what ifs lead us to like not being able to do a lot of the stuff that we could do to like, you know, something happens.
So how is your movement evolving, and like what's the next phase? How do you see it going forward?
That's a good question. Like right now it's just rebuild, and what I mean rebuild, it's just me trying to really figure out if I want a space again, like brick and mortar, because all of the same things still exist, like all of the people, it's all there. Or do I just want to just kind of not have brick and mortar and just go around and do like I used to do and just teach movement all over town? So I'm just taking the time, like that's what, like losing the building is just, I'm taking the rest of this year really to figure out what I really want to be doing. Yeah. You know? But I know I'll always be teaching some form of movement classes. That will never, because that keeps me on my discipline. So, you know, and that's always, you know, that's like a beautiful selfish thing, is like, I was offering that every morning, but it was also fulfilling what I needed to. See what I mean? Yeah. So it was just good to keep me on a schedule, and so I need that. Yeah. I need that. So I know I always have the movement. The bigger picture of everything is I've always had this like dream of the Good Vibes Village, you know, and I see it happening. It's just a matter of time, you know.
Is it a physical?
Yeah, I see it like brick and mortar, but I don't know when, you know? and I want it to be like, I've already went through all the different ways of like doing stuff with the nonprofit, leaving the nonprofit, creating all this. I want to do it like really organic. I want to do it like, you know, so everybody feels a part of it. It doesn't just feel like it's mine. You know, I want it to be something that can continue to be ran even if I don't exist.
Yeah.
You know, but also have that feel with the right human beings involved in it, right? It's not like you were just hired. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like you want it. You want to be there. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing when we talk about like community centers and stuff, right? We just hire people. Like the vibe has to come with like when you want to be there, when you do feel all the creatives in that room, and like that's the, you know, that is it.
So when you're doing yoga, you're like flowing, like you talk to people like right when they're getting ready to start. I mean, you're talking through the whole time. And this latest kind of chapter of how it ended, you know, it could make somebody have like anger inside, right? Like bitterness and angerness, because of, you know, because you're human too. You're not like, you know, made of steel or anything. Like you have emotions, you have feelings.
Yeah, and see, people just expect you to have all that because you're good vibes and you have peace, love. No. I have bad vibes too.
Yeah,
and I'm human.
Yeah.
And I will say what I need to say when I have to say it. Right? That's where it comes on standing on your 10 toes. You know what I mean? I'll never lose that. Like I'll always be a peaceful dude and try to resort everything in peace, but like anything, if the wolves come, I can turn into a wolf. You know?
Yeah.
Like that's real. Cause that's one thing I've learned is like, people can take advantage of your kindness, you know? And just understand I've become this peaceful because I wasn't. This is a practice.
I see.
All right? Like I got into this after prison of, you know, going and wanting to be a better human being, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like everybody has like their demons that they fight with.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, the reaction you usually want to do is be mad, because it's like, you know, you're just trying to go through it of why.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't see the other person's thing. But when you break it down in the businessman's head, I get it. Dollars, it doesn't make sense. I get it. When you break it down in the community's way, I don't get it.
Right.
All right. So I understand the business, I understand the community, but yeah, everybody has that.
So
like,
you're saying like allow yourself to feel whatever emotions you have, because
right. Because for me, you just got to learn how to channel that. That's motivation for me. All that happened to me losing 6 is like you just woke up the wolf. Right. So now I'm hungry.
I see.
Right? And I got a lot of people to feed. You didn't just like disrupt my house. You disrupted a whole flock of people. Right? That we're all getting fed. That we're all doing positive stuff. That we're all building community. That we're all bringing like actual physical money to the community. You got to remember, we over the years we put over like 50 kids to work, and they all got paid, and the majority of them all came from our neighborhood. So like, you know, when everybody has these big ideas, like how do you change the kid? Well, you put money back into it.
Yeah.
All right, well, we put money back into it. Now where do they spend the money? Oh gosh, they're gonna go out to the burbs.
Yeah.
So where do you know what I mean? So it's crazy because I never look at it as we've been doing it, and I don't like talking about it, like as you know, because we're gonna it's continuing to do it, but it's like we've been doing all these things.
Yeah,
it's been happening, and it was truly like I don't have no master's degree. You know what I mean? We're just normal human beings that had some ideas, got them done, and keep doing them.
Yeah,
right. Just like you guys, when you built your business, you had an idea, you did it. It's here. Just at the beginning, we're going to get a space. We're going to try to find, right? It's all those little steps of going.
Yeah.
But yeah, emotions are real. And don't, for me, I try to control my emotions, but they're there, and I'm happy they're there because I can still feel. When I can't feel anymore, then I probably turned into a businessman.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I probably turned into a businessman. So that means I'll probably take $1 over your friendship. All right. You know, that's usually what happens. Like, the thing that's funny is I've played a lot of different roles in this city. Like, I've been able to, you get into the real estate and watch friends let them make $1 million deals, not expect anything in return, but learn a lot and see people change when money gets involved.
Yeah.
And then I watched myself change in the past when money gets involved. And me losing friends because of dollars has taught me that money's really nothing. Right? A friendship is for until you're dead. Money is just for that transition of that time. So if you want to have feelings for that and be mad over it at that time and lose a friend that is like forever, I'd rather take the friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the change of the money, that's just business. Business is business. My biggest thing is I just want businessmen to stop using community. You're a business. All right? Stop saying you're a coffee shop. Stop saying you're a community. You sell coffee.
Right.
Your community's based on you selling something. You're not serving. You're serving your coffee, you're selling. See what I mean? Everybody wants to throw community around. You're a business. Right? We pay for your service. Community should be service. You shouldn't have to pay for anything. Nothing. And that's the difference. But people want to say community, then sell you something.
Yeah.
That's the disconnect for me. And that's what I really mean with businessmen.
Yeah.
Stop saying you're trying to do something good for the community when you're going to make $1 million out of it. You're going to win. It's a business. Stop. Don't use the word community. You're not. I don't ever see you in my community. All right? And then don't try to get a brother to be the guy, because I don't see him in my community either. You know? Real. That's so. And that's, again, usually those are things that Good Vibes doesn't say. Right? Because you got to hold this.
Yeah.
No, guess what? What I'm learning, if you don't say things, you'll just always have fake stuff happening. Yeah. Right?
You have to be real.
You got to be real. And it's not about breaking down an individual. It's not about taking shots at a human. It's about standing on principle. It's about don't sell out. It's about, what are we really bringing to 6th Avenue? What are we really bringing there? Like, does it really make sense? Did you really talk to the people? Do you know the people?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's the real talk around the community that I talk with. But the disconnect is the people who are making the decisions are never in the community. I don't even know their names. Right. Great.
I've seen a bus tour. Have you seen those bus tours?
They're really, really great events. We always have a really good four events in the hood. We really do. They're really big. But again, that's 4 times out of 365 days. You know? Like, people want our neighborhood to change. It's got to be constant. You know?
Have you seen those bus tours? I think I've seen it twice, but there's a tour that, like, a lot of people in the business world get on, and they, like, stopped at 6th Avenue, and then, like, it's almost like it felt like sightseeing places. Like, this is a completely foreign neighborhood to them, and they're almost kind of like, do you know those buses on Hollywood Strip that people are going and seeing celebrities' houses, but they're like amazed by the way that it looks, because it's so strange to them. And like, people walking down, they're all in suits, men and women. You haven't seen those?
No.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
It feels strange because I live in that neighborhood, right? So like, it feels a little strange.
I'm on 9th. I don't think we have a bus route on 9th.
No, but like, no, I've seen it as I drive. I'm like, oh.
And they just walk through?
Yeah, they're just like, they get off the bus, and they obviously don't live there, don't live in the neighborhood. And
well,
they're
I
just
know
kinda,
lately with the building across the street, I've been seeing a bunch of people around that one, like where the Family Dollar, where they closed down that, the Family Dollar. So I've seen a bunch of people there. But I mean, that's going to be, I think, like $100-something million development. You know?
I know.
So that's just part of how it goes, right? New buildings come in, rent goes up. How it goes. Nothing may exist there, but rent still goes up. It's just how it goes, right?
Yeah.
It's no different than in East Village, you know? I remember going down there was nothing there. Once there's a couple ideas, you know, and the certain developers put their money together and throw it up, you know, that's how it goes. Goes up, rent goes up. Those people who are down there move out, new people move in.
So when people come to you like to do yoga, do they come to you and ask you for advice, or they ask you like or
it's so funny because or
tell you their troubles?
Yeah, oh man. Yeah, that's a lot. Just listening. That's what's so funny is that as a, you know, any leader of a class or whatever you're doing, you know, people, they do it themselves. They put you up there because you're leading the class. I'm just a human being like you, like everyone else, right? But then you also open yourself for them to like let you in on all of what they have going on, and you're trying to give them. And it's like, hey, I can listen.
Yeah.
I have problems too, you know, like just because I'm leading, this doesn't mean like I am perfect
You're
by any
guru.
Yeah. And that, like all of those, see, but understand, I don't want that because all of those things were made for business. Because now I sell you that.
Right.
See, I got nothing to sell you.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like I've been able to go and work at every yoga studio in town for the most part. And what I've learned is that they're all businesses.
Yeah.
You know, like, but that's fine too.
Yeah.
But again, what I'm getting at and what I'm trying to serve are the people who won't be able to afford to go to their things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're doing great work. I'm not taking anything away from them, but that's only going to serve the class that can afford to pay the 200, the 150, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just all of those things of like, it's all business, right? It's all, everything comes down to a business. But let's just think, if everybody just took 1 day and 1 hour out of their day and did some type of serving, the world would be different. All I did is took 2 hours of teaching movement out of my day. That's it. And all of a sudden people are like, wow, like, whoa, man. It's like, bro, I'm doing two classes. That's all I'm really, you know?
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was way more than that. It was like literally 7 to 8 classes a day.
So why do you do what you do?
Why? Because I feel that like it's a gift, and like it's just it comes just so natural for me. So I feel like connecting, like people are using and labeling it as yoga, but like that's just a thing. It just as who I am, I'm just a connector. Why I do it? Because I love seeing things happen and knowing that like all it took was me to introduce those two. And seeing it before they even knew it. Like, oh, you should know this guy, and this guy should know that guy.
Right.
But with that being said, you got to be free of not wanting anything in return. Right? I used to hook up guys and they'd make $5 million deals, and I'd be like, can I get a rib? In my head, like, dang, where's my rib? Like, yeah, I wouldn't even know each other. Man, I'd be sitting in a completely different place. Right. But it's like, nah, you're not doing it for that. Because hopefully if you make that connection with them, they're going to prosper and do something better, right? And you hope that. But that's, again, you get to see, I just got to go through a whole 5 years.
Yeah.
I know we're getting on time because I could talk forever.
Yeah.
I just got to see a whole 5 years of what that is like, of working with people and seeing. All that really got to happen is I got to cut off the old fruit, bro. And I get to rebuild. That's the biggest thing. I get to rebuild. I'm so happy that I got to see all the snakes that are in my grass, right? Because now I just cut my lawn, and I get to rebuild. I got to see what all my weaknesses were, you know. I got to see all of the things to lead me for the next step. To be that much like stronger in all areas.
So you're taking the year off, the rest of the year off, and you're rebuilding. But if somebody wants to connect with you or collaborate with you or like just learn from you or take your classes, like what's
I would say
what's the way to connect
I would say
with
it's
you?
like some type of social media, but there's really not right now. It's just check out Good Vibes Movement.
Okay.
Maybe on like Instagram maybe, but there hasn't been anything, and I like it. I like it. Life is good. Life is good out of that like whole matrix of the world. Yeah. So yeah, it's good.
So
and
just
be ready. It's
keep an eye out.
It's already happening. You know, it's just a matter of it will be released when it's ready. But rebuilding it's been happening since we left that day.
Okay.
You know, and it will be good, and it will be stronger than we were before, and a lot more strength from the community no one knows about, from the people that nobody knows about. And what I can say is what I'm gonna do is build a bridge from the true disconnect that is the reason why communities don't work. Just wait, you'll see what I mean.
One last question. What is your life motto?
Oh, live life, love life. That's what my homie been saying. Those are lyrics of my homie's song that he made.
Okay.
I got it tattooed on my arm. Live life, love life. You know, it's precious. Don't waste any time. It's precious. Don't waste any time.
All right. We'll leave it at that, man. I'm glad that we connected again. Every time I drive and you're in the front yard, I hung at you. So I appreciate what you've done, and I look forward to see what's coming. I'm sure it's going to be beautiful, and I look forward to seeing, maybe how I can contribute and how I can help. So
we're neighbors.
Yeah. All right. That's Ben Spellman. Don't reach out to him yet.
Yeah, just hold on.
All right. We'll see everybody next time.